Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone, and the New York Knicks season is alive. They go ahead and stave off an 0-3 deficit, winning Game 3 in Indiana in the way they've won a number of games throughout these playoffs, where they go down by 20 and then go ahead and pull off the comeback win. I don't know why it took them this long to pull out that strategy that always seems to work for them, but they do so, and they go ahead and pick up the W. I believe now they're the first team ever, first team in a long time, to have 3 wins on the road of going down by 20 plus and still winning in a playoff run. Crazy comeback energy from both of these teams all throughout these playoffs, and this time it was the Knicks getting the job done, because it felt like when the Pacers went up 20 in that second quarter, we're seeing a bit of a replay of that Game 4, I believe it was, against the Cavs, where it just snowballed. They steamrolled the Cavaliers. That's what the Pacers do, is they get on these runs and suddenly there's no room to breathe. But for the Knicks, they steadied things out, they stayed calm, they cut into the lead a little bit going into halftime, and in the fourth quarter they took the lead back. And most of the reason why the Knicks won this game was Karl-Anthony Towns. Cat had the best, most important game of his entire time with the New York Knicks, one of the most important games of his entire career. Finished with 24 points, 15 rebounds, and 1 assist. Did have 6 turnovers, so it may not sound like the most impactful game overall, but the fourth quarter is really where he shined, because Jalen Brunson's in foul trouble, and it's hard for them to always have Brunson and Cat on the court together. They did not share the court together a lot tonight because both of them are big liabilities defensively, so Brunson's not out there. They need a lot from Cat, and he goes ahead and gives them 28-1 alone in the fourth quarter, 6 of 9 shooting, 3 of 4 from 3, and a lot of that came at the beginning to bring them all the way back, cut the deficit to nothing, give them a lead, and ultimately lead the Knicks to victory. And he was doing a great job of using his size, of bowling, of getting downhill. He was aggressive. He was just basically pushing through the Pacers defenders. It was the aggressive Karl-Anthony Towns I said they were going to need coming into this game, and this is why you trade for a guy like that, someone that can be the stretch big and knock down 3 threes in a quarter, to add more offensive punch to this team outside of Jalen Brunson. And they were able to win this game with Brunson not playing well. That's not something I really thought they were going to be able to do against Indiana. And he shot 6 of 18, did finish with 23 points, but like I said, big time foul trouble. Only played a couple of minutes in the fourth because he picked up that 5th foul very quickly at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and it didn't really matter because Cat went ahead and was unbelievable. They scored 36 points total in the fourth quarter. The Pacers as a team scored 20. Cat had 20 alone. Huge statement game from Karl-Anthony Towns. If you're still a Knicks fan that for some reason is a doubter in Cat, I know last game he really struggled and ultimately wasn't on the court for much of the fourth quarter. They went with Mitchell Robinson instead. He had a big time bounce back, and that's what the playoffs are all about. You're going to get punched in the face, especially when you reach the conference finals at this point. And I'm going to talk about my Thunder in a bit, who definitely got punched in the face in Game 3 by the Timberwolves, but the Knicks and Karl-Anthony Towns got punched in the face in back-to-back games in Madison Square Garden. They had to win tonight. I know going down 3-0 technically doesn't end your season, but it's never been a deficit that anyone's come back from. And against this Pacers team, they were never going to do it. So they had to win this game. This was a must-win to save their season, and they did it. The Knicks did it, but mostly Karl-Anthony Towns, and it's really cool to see him step up. That is a legacy type of fourth quarter. If the Knicks go on to win this series and they end up winning the NBA Finals, or even just making it to the finals for the first time in forever, this moment here will forever stamp Karl-Anthony Towns as a Knicks legend. And I want to give credit to Tom Thibodeau for putting Cat and the Knicks as a whole in a position to succeed in this game. This was the best coach game by Tom Thibodeau I've seen in a while. Now, he threw some lineups out there that I absolutely hated. There was one point where they were running a DeLon Wright, Landry Shamet, Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, Karl-Anthony Towns lineup, and that lineup was abysmal. They played 5 minutes together and it was a minus 20.8 net rating. Not surprising, but overall, a lot of combinations of those players did work. He changed the starting lineup, which I wasn't sure if Tibbs was going to do. He is very stubborn in his ways, but clearly he recognized that the Josh Hart addition to that unit wasn't working. He swapped him out for Mitchell Robinson, and I personally thought that putting Deuce McBride in there instead was going to be the way to go, because that the double bigs might be a little too slow-footed for this very perimeter-centric Pacers team, but ultimately it worked. It wasn't like blow you away type of minutes, but they actually built up a lead at the beginning of a game, which is a big time difference for the Knicks. The Pacers ended up fighting back a little bit, but the starting lineup that they usually have hardly played together in this game, and ultimately I think that was a good thing. I thought Shamet actually gave them some pretty good minutes. No Cameron Payne minutes, which is probably a big improvement from last game. DeLon Wright, I felt like he was fine in his 13 minutes. Only had 2 points on 1 of 1 shooting, but had a steal, and I felt like played pretty good defense, brought some good energy. Just liked a lot of the combinations of players he went with in this game. The double big thing worked. Tom Thibodeau did a great job. He doesn't get a lot of credit for when he makes successful moves. He mostly gets a lot of slander for when he makes the wrong decisions, which he has done a number of times, I will say, throughout this playoff run and especially at the beginning of this Pacers series. But it feels like he made a lot of good ones tonight. This was a great game from him. And it is bold to go long stretches of time without Cat and Brunson on the court together. Those are your two best players. But I think he's realized that defensively it just doesn't work. So if you're going to have them both out there, use them in small bursts. But otherwise, go ahead and stagger their minutes. Have one of them out there at all times to give you that big time punch. And at the end of the game, they were in together and they did enough to go ahead and shut the door. Brunson had a bucket. Cat, of course, got them to that point. They played good enough defense and they get out of here. Big win against the Indiana Pacers. I think they need to even up 2-2 to feel like they actually have a shot in this series. If they go down 3-1, I just think it's going to be way too hard to beat this Pacers team 3 times in a row and try and shut down that offense. But the Knicks did a good enough of a job today. And this was by far the best game they've played defensively. Overall, too, Pacers 20% from 3. They were 5 of 25, 34-77 shooting for 44%. It's rare to see the Pacers struggle this way. They also made them turn the ball over 12 times. Not anything insane, but it's a decent job. It's something to go ahead and slow them down a little bit. Haliburton was pretty solid, 20.7 dimes. Rough game from Aaron Nesmith, who ends up tweaking his ankle, but ultimately came back in. So hopefully he's good to go for the rest of the series. Just 2 of 8 shooting from him. 2 of 8 from Andrew Nembhard was not really his night. Miles Turner was pretty good overall. 19 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, and 2 blocks. Did at the end of the game take a shot that I didn't really love. I think they were down 2. He was going for the 3 to give them the lead, but it was a really deep 3. And it felt like a number of times down the stretch, the Knicks did a good job of making the Pacers kind of second guess their offense, which is something they don't really ever do. The Pacers are very decisive offensively, but it felt like a number of times they weren't really sure where they should go, or they were overpassing the ball. Like they had a pretty good look, but they're like, let's get a better look. But then the shot clock's really winding down, and it just felt like the Knicks pressure, the Knicks defense, their intensity was a lot better. And I think a lot of that can be attributed to the lineups and the lack of Brunson and Cat being out there at the same time, but also just I think they felt like their backs were against the wall. Like OG Anunoby had a steal and 3 blocks to go with his 16 points on very efficient shooting, and Mikal Bridges didn't really shoot it well, 6 of 18, but gave them a couple steals, 15 points, and I felt like played really good defensively. Great minutes again defensively from Mitchell Robinson. Deuce McBride, I felt like guarded really well. This is the defensive intensity that we saw in the Celtics series a lot of times from the Knicks. It's what allowed them to get back into this game. It wasn't just Cat taking over and them slowly chipping away. It was also guarding up and forcing the Pacers offense out of their comfort zone, which has been something that's rare in these playoffs, really over the entire second half of the season. The Pacers don't have that happen to them often. So a lot of credit to the Knicks, a lot of credit to Tom Thibodeau. The Pacers are still terrifying. You know, they still should very well be favored in this series. The Knicks got to win game 4. In my opinion, still a must-win scenario. But if they play a lot more like this, then I think they have a legitimate shot. They did such a good job in this game. I like the adjustments. Of course, Rick Carlisle is going to come back with some of his own. But overall, I felt like this was a massive statement win for the Knicks to show that, hey, I know we're down 2-0. Both losses coming at Madison Square Garden, but we're not dead. We're not out of this yet, especially if Cat keeps playing like this. And again, they got this win with Brunson shooting 6 of 18. If I'm a Knicks fan, I'm feeling really good leaving this one, especially because now you know if you go down 20, you're pretty much automatically going to win at this point. But yeah, very excited for game 4. All these games have been so fun and entertaining between these two teams. It's a classic conference finals that I still feel like could go a 6 or 7 games if the Knicks can go ahead and make things interesting, winning that game 4. Again, we'll have to wait and see if they can pull that one off. But again, big credit to Karl-Anthony Towns. A lot of slander towards him after last game where he really struggled, but this one stepped up. And he also was dealing with foul trouble. He had 5 fouls. I don't know why the Pacers didn't attack him more. Like outside of one play where Miles Turner got Cat on a pump fake up in the air and he went into him, something that you could have called a foul, but ultimately they didn't. There felt like there was not really a lot of attempts to get Cat fouled out of this game despite him taking over late and again being in foul trouble pretty much all night, which is very un-Pacers. That's what I'm talking about, where it felt like they were kind of uncomfortable. And credit to Cat for defending with that foul trouble. I mean, the Knicks were in foul trouble pretty much across the board tonight. 3 fouls for OG, 5 for Cat, 5 for Brunson, 2 for Mikal, 3 for Mitchell Robinson, 4 for Josh Hart, 3 from Deuce McBride. Very foul heavy game, and also a lot of guys in foul trouble too for the Pacers. Ultimately, Knicks get out of this one, and I'm very much looking forward to game 4. Hopefully we continue to just get classic games the entire way, because it feels like this one still has so much potential for those all-time moments. And now let's talk about the Timberwolves thrashing my Thunder. This was a big win for them. Obviously can't afford to go down 0-3, and they decide not to. They get a big win at home, make the series 2-1, and 39-6, 12 of 17 shooting. He's done such a good job against this defense, 5 of 8 from 3, and that's kind of the theme of this game for the Wolves. They shot 20 of 40 from the outside. That's 50%. Big game from Terrence Shannon, who had 15 points. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets more minutes. 12 from Mikal Alexander-Walker, 10 from Naz Reid, who finally gets it going, 24 from Julius Randle, 10 from Jaden McDaniels, 7 and 7 from Rudy Gobert. Everybody played well down the board. I mean, even 5 of 6 shooting for Leonard Miller when he came in for 7 minutes in garbage time for 11 points. There was nobody on this team that could miss. 3 of 3 shooting and 1 of 1 from 3 for Luka Garza as well. Meanwhile, for the Thunder, nobody could shoot. 14 of 44 shooting from 3. That's 31.8%. And a few of those threes came at the end of the game when it was completely out of reach. You had rough Shai game, 14 points. The Wolves did such a good job playing that gap defense, really leveling up the intensity and getting Shai to overthink things, as well as this whole Thunder team. It felt like they were unsure. They were off balance the entire night. Also, a lot of early uncharacteristic Thunder turnovers that led to this one starting to snowball a little bit. And once the Wolves could miss from 3, it was just wraps. Just 3 of 9 shooting from Jalen Williams. Yeah, that was kind of the story of the game. Is the top guys didn't get it going. Team couldn't shoot from 3. More turnovers than usual. 14 turnovers to 10. The Thunder never lose the turnover battle, but that's what happened here. And yeah, now the Thunder go into a game 4 in Minnesota after getting their butts kicked. Gonna try and go out there and get a comeback, bounce back win, but huge game from the Wolves. The Thunder are going to have to answer that pressure defense that Minnesota sent their way. It was the defensive intensity that I kind of expected them to come with in games 1 and 2, but they really didn't. You could tell that they felt like they needed this one, that there was no other option but to win. They'll have to match that intensity or something similar in game 4 because the Thunder have been really good at bouncing back. OKC has not lost back-to-back playoff games this entire playoff run. Hardly did that in the regular season. The Thunder are going to be ready for the challenge. I think game 4 is going to be finally the first close game that we've gotten in the Western Conference Finals, because it was 2 Thunder blowouts and now obviously this massive Timberwolves blowout. Like, even the Thunder brought it back a little bit. I think they were down 30 something going into halftime, and the Thunder cut it down to 22 in the third quarter, and then there was a timeout. It's like, can OKC pull off another insane comeback like that 29-point comeback against the Grizzlies in the first round? And the answer was no, because then Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle hit a few threes and suddenly it was near a 40 piece. So yeah, not a lot to say otherwise about that game. Huge shooting night from the Wolves. They have to continue to shoot well because it's been rough overall in the playoffs, and the Thunder need to shoot better. 3-point shooting has been continuously a point of discussion with the Oklahoma City Thunder throughout this run. The all-time defense and always winning the possession battle has allowed OKC to survive, but have not shot the 3 ball well. Whether it's, Wiggins or Joe or J-Dub or Chet or Shai or someone has to shoot a little bit better. Caruso has been probably the most reliable guy. Kaysen. I wouldn't be shocked if the Thunder switch up the starting lineup and go with Kaysen Wallace instead of Isaiah Hartenstein. I just don't know if the double big thing is necessary against the Timberwolves quite the way that it was necessary at times against the Nuggets, because you need Hart out there to guard Nikola Jokic. I don't think you really need all that size, and that's the lineup that went on the run to cut into the deficit at the beginning of the third, and I just think it gives more overall spacing. It makes things easier for Shai and Jalen Williams against this, again, much more aggressive gap type of defense. So we'll see if that's what Mark Daigneault goes with, or even if he doesn't change the starting lineup. I think a pretty quick switch to the single big, which has been way more effective in the series and throughout the playoffs, is coming if the Thunder have another slow start. But yeah, those are my thoughts on these games so far. Let me know down below in the comments what your takeaways were from game 3. Did either of these game 3s convince you that the Wolves or the Knicks can go ahead and win these series, or do you still feel like the Pacers and Thunder are in their driver's seats? Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. I'll see you all later. Real one, say it back.